What does it take to prepare for a global future? It's not just about learning English, it's about how you learn it. Today, we explore how Universidad Autónoma de Occidente Speaks English fits into that journey. Welcome to Beyond Borders, the space where we talk about global opportunities, scholarships, international expansion, and how to take your potential beyond borders. I'm Aurora Garcia, your international growth consultant. Today, I'm talking with Brenda García, coordinator of the podcast UAO Speaks English, an initiative at Universidad Autónoma de Occidente in Colombia. Brenda is an English professor at this university and has created a powerful tool for students not only in her institution, but those anywhere in the world to be able to practice English in a natural, interactive, and consistent manner. Live interaction during the podcast transmission, including guests from all over the world, and choosing interesting yet mainstream topics are what have made this strategy so successful, and such an inspiration for other higher education institutions, and generally anyone who works promoting English language learning to innovate in their global strategies. Welcome, Brenda. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you, Matei. Thank you to our dear audience. I really appreciate this invitation, and I am very glad to be here.
Okay, Brenda, let's start from the beginning. What first sparked your interest in language learning and teaching English?
Okay, this one is an interesting question. For me, it was always about connection. I realized early on that languages are not just subjects, just studying a textbook. They are keys that unlock different doors that they can become into words, cultures, opportunities. And when I started teaching English, I wanted to pass on that feeling because in my case, I don't have a bachelor degree in languages. I study foreign trade and international businesses, but all my jobs were bilingual. So just for having this language skilled, it opened to me many, many great doors. I didn't want my students to just memorize grammar rules or vocabulary words. I want to really have them to experience the thrill of actually being understood by someone from a different part of the world. When I was having like a phone calls from people from India, Vietnam, Shanghai, and they understood me in that moment, I was like so glad because oh my God, I really can communicate in a different language.
That's really interesting because I'm also a Bachelor of International Business
You
Management.
see?
And I'm also developing my career in English language teaching and learning and even evaluating. So I think it's an interesting situation that we have this in common and that at the same time, we're using it to reach global interaction with other universities and other countries. At what point did you realize you wanted to connect your work with a more global perspective?
Well, as an educator in the southwest of Colombia, because I'm teaching in Cali, right? I notice a gap. Our students have a great potential, creativity, but they often feel isolated from global conversations. They say, okay, I live in a small town, so why shall I learn a different language when everything surrounding me is in Spanish? So I realized that if they wanted to apply for international scholarships, work for multinational companies, lead global projects, even to maybe bring tourism in their hometowns and try to catch international tourists, we have to bring the word into their daily lives now, especially when they are still at the university. So that was like my perspective in that moment.
Okay, and before UAO Speaks English, what was your vision for helping students engage with English beyond the classroom?
Well, I consider myself like someone that likes to think in someone's shoes. So I say, okay, this is my student, this is my target. There are kids, teenagers, adults. So try to think in the things that they like, right? And in that way, I think that I always believe in infotainment. Infotainment is learning through topics the students are actually passionate about. So I always try to bring in my classroom practice, but practice like a maybe a role play, but into real situations, like how to order a taxi, how to order a takeout on an app, practice a restaurant conversation, like things like that. Of course, at the beginning, it wasn't easy because the students are always used to grammar learning base, right? Like only the language, like a math formula, or I just need vocabulary, I just need to understand, but I don't need to produce.
Mhm,
In my case, oh my God, I need to speak, I need to listen. So in that way, I know how what I need to express.
mhm,
So my vision was also to create a safe, like a vibrant sandbox that they could practice naturally, that they can feel safe, that they're having mistakes, nothing happens because practice makes perfect. And they can talk about real life issues, realize that their English doesn't have to be perfect to be powerful. That's the thing. Actually, when we're talking about language learning, in this day we're talking about international English. Because in the past, as you know, Mate, everyone was thinking like, "Ah, okay, do you speak British or American accent?"
mhm. Yes.
Nowadays, we're talking about international English. Why? Because English is one of the most spoken languages. I think is the most spoken one, but not necessarily are native speakers. So in your case, you're Mexican, my case, I'm Colombian, but where is in English. And of course, for your first tongue, you have an accent. So you need to deal with it, feel proud about that accent because that one represents where you're coming from. And that one I try to teach my students. Yes, pronunciation is important, like intonation, absolutely. But you don't need to feel bad about making mistakes. It's normal.
Yes, and I think one of the most important things that you're mentioning is how students are central to all of the learning experience, because sometimes we focus so much on the content of, like you were saying, grammar and other things, that we forget that students are at the center of all the learning process. And I agree with you, because accents are something that many people are embarrassed about, but it's not something we have to take in this way. So,
That's right. Even for us teachers, I know from several colleagues, they try to apply for job position as English teacher in, I don't know, bilingual high schools, universities, and say, oh, okay, you have a nice curriculum. I but you have accent. I mean, everybody has an accent. It's quite difficult to consider a standard accent in English
mhm,
and
mhm.
even in Spanish.
Yes.
I mean, that's not the point.
For example, when we you were speaking about American and British English, they also have accents in the different parts of their country, right? So how can we just
Eh,
talk about one type of accent? There is no.
That's right. In my case, I noticed when I used to work in what I studied, in my major, I noticed that the accent from people from Korea, Vietnam, Malta, Chicago, New York is totally different. So that's like my message. Don't feel shy because you have an accent. It's 100% natural. It's quite difficult that someone say, "I you have the standard." I think the standard is just an illusion.
Yes, I agree with you. Okay, but going back to UAO Speaks English, tell us
Mhm.
the story behind this idea and how this idea came to life.
Wow. Well, I have to be honest. I've been the coordinator for like a 2 3 years, but while Speaks English started in 2017. It was created by another teacher that I can't recall the name. Sorry about that. But the program basically was born due to a huge necessity and was to increase the bilingualism in the local community. I mean, in our university, right? And then we say, okay, the university, that is Universidad Autónoma Occidente, has like a great resources, facilities. And in that moment, say, okay, why wouldn't have something bigger and huge impact? Something open to everybody, to everyone, not only for the university community, to everyone. So the idea basically was born to promote bilingualism, right, in the region, but at the same time to enhance the productive skills, speaking especially and writing. But if you analyze it, when we talk about what speaks, it's a live program on YouTube. And we notice that basically we enhance the word skills. I mean, when the people are the audience, they practice listening and writing because they can type comments on YouTube. Also, the audience can practice speaking because we have a QR code in which students can scan it and they are sent to a WhatsApp group and they can send voice messages. So they practice speaking at the same time. So if you notice, in general, we cover like a different skills, but it started with speaking mainly. And something beautiful about what speaks, it was also to create something that the students can participate actively, as you mentioned before, to promote student centeredness. Yes, we are two teachers. In my case, the coordinator and another teacher that supported me, that is Maria Camila. Thank you, Maria Camila. She is great. So we are the leaders, the professors, but basically students do everything. I mean, they chose the topics because we finished the semester, so they chose the topics, they conducted the program, they help us with the script, they also recorded the interviews, recorded material that we need for the live program. So it's something that is definitely led student.
Yes, that is a really important part of the initiative. I think that students continue to be involved in the program, and it's really nice that you also let them be involved in the whole process, because I think that also builds their skills in other areas, not just in the language.
Indeed.
And what problems do you think you are currently solving with this podcast?
Wow. Well, at the beginning, as I mentioned before, they wanted like the bilingual listening gap. Because when they create the program, according to the data, the figures, 60% of our student community, they started their university process in a minus A1 English level. And 60% is a huge number. We say, oh my God, we have a lot of work to do. Obviously, through the years, that percentage has been declined. But nowadays, talking about what speaks, I think that the biggest barrier in language learning isn't just vocabulary, it's about fear. And you say fear? Yes, fear, because it's a foreign language anxiety. We wanted to bridge the English proficiency gap, choosing topics that students actually care about. So we don't like to talk about dry academic theories. We usually talk about topics that our audience are basically teenagers. They like about modern dating, artificial intelligence ethics and skills, self-love, mental health. Talking in our episode that we have together about Colombia versus Mexico food battle. That was really good. Also, we try to include intercultural topics like this one about Mexico, China, Japan, and also like those trendy topics that are happening in their generation, right? And I think that focusing on highly engaging topics, they forget their fear and focus on communicating. Because if they really like the topic, they don't mind if they're talking properly. They just want to spread their idea. And I think that one is the goal, to reduce the fear of talking. If they barely speak in their native language, imagining another one. It's quite difficult, but I think it's possible.
It's a big challenge. And talking about challenges, what are the biggest challenges of turning this into a consistent live interactive experience?
Ooh. Well, I think that when you're having a live program, because this one is not a club, it's a program, right?
Mhm.
I think that the biggest challenge is when we talk about the logistic. I think that one is the biggest challenge, because this program involves many people. I mean, not only the students that are volunteers, that they help us conducting the program, the interview, searching the international guests, help us with the script, all the stuff. But on the other hand, we're having technical people from the university. They help us with the cameras, with the transmission link on YouTube. They help us with this play that is the audio lab. Also with students handling the social media. I mean, if you notice, I mean, behind every episode is a huge logistic. So that's why we're the teachers in charge. We say, okay, we help out to coordinate, but students basically do all the job. And also the WhatsApp we do with the audio messages, the comments on YouTube, another person that is helping us choosing the comments, because we're having a software that is called StreamYard. So when we're in the live program, you saw Mate, that in the live program, some comments pop up on the screen. And some say, that one is my message, and continue typing because they like to feel included. I That one I think is also the charming of the program.
Yes, it must be a very huge challenge to coordinate all of this while it's happening on a live situation.
Yeah, actually, to create an episode, we need like 2 weeks, more or
Mhm,
less,
mhm.
for only one episode. That is an hour.
Yes, I can imagine that is a big challenge. And also, you've had international guests. Is this one of the other challenges that you've had with bringing people who are from other countries into the podcast? Or what impact has this had on learners and on the podcast?
Well, actually, I have to say that we have both national and international, more important, expert guests, right? And I can say that to sum up the impact of the expert guests, I have to choose three words: transformative, positive, and meaningful. Why? Because we can talk about the topic, we can search the information, we can design the script, but the one who really has the power, the knowledge, is the expert guest. So when students listen to and interact with the expert guest, in that way, definitely we are fostering real world language use. And also we develop essential soft skills like effective communication, adaptability, critical thinking. Because as you know, Mateo, when we are teachers in the classroom, we try to speak slow. We try to pronounce well. They can understand us. But in the real life, people don't talk it that way. In my case, I always speak fast. And I always tell my students, okay, if you notice that I'm speaking faster, please say me, teacher, slow down, or teacher, speak slowly, because that's the way that I speak. So when they listen to an expert guest, they say, oh my God, international English. We have international guests from China, from Korea, from Japan, from Italy,
Mhm.
speaking English. They say, oh my God, I understood everything they said. It's great. So the students feel that it's worth it to learn a language,
Mhm.
right? And I
Mhm.
think that one is great example. In this semester, we have an episode about sustainability, and we brought the vice president of the Peruvian Electrotechnical Association. Obviously, this topic involves a lot of technical words, and we're trying to split it out to like a scaffolding interpretation, the information. But even though hearing an international expert discuss energy projects in Peru, and also saying our proposals from the university, because the Universidad Autónoma also has this line of sustainability, students felt like, wow, it was amazing. They have interesting people. And we say, of course, we try to always bring expert guests that are relevant to the topic.
Okay, and from your experience, how can students use tools like UAO Speaks English as part of their preparation for international opportunities?
International opportunity require more than just passing an English exam, because if you notice, education has like a leg to the I need a grade to pass. That's what I need. But when we talk about languages, I think that it requires cultural intelligence. I mean, one of our like this episode was about China, and we invited Canadian Chinese guests. And basically, we led the conversation in demystifying stereotypes and contrast Western versus Chinese professional cultures about food habits, living lifestyles, things like that. And it was interesting because if you notice in this part of the world, we don't know very much about China because they protect and sell the information. So we have like a lot of myths. And it was pretty cool to understand also that the students were great researchers trying to understand how they live, the way that they are, understand those roots, and understand that those roots led to different behaviors that we don't have, right? And also, when we talk about real life, when they start working, nowadays we're talking about globalization. And in globalization, you don't talk only to people from your country, from other ones. We cannot speak Spanish, but we can have different perceptions from Mexico to Colombia to Ecuador to Peru. I mean, and we're having the same language. Now imagine a different one. So I think that this part is to open their minds, and also like an invitation to understand different cultures, and also to know that they can have other opportunities in different countries. They can apply for scholarships. in a different country. They can dream and become that dream come true to working in a different country. Because sometimes students say, no, I'm here. So no, I think I will work here because for me it's impossible. It's so far the dream to be abroad. But we notice that it's possible. And we need to realize to them that they can do it.
Exactly. And in the same sense, in your opinion, how does language learning shape someone's global mindset?
Well, honestly, learning a language physically reprograms how you think. It forces you to look at a concept from someone else's point of view. As I mentioned before, you need to understand the person's roots. Like, okay, why this person from this country has this behavior? Why is from different so different from me? It moves you from a defensive mindset of my culture is it only that way. Take it or leave it to open mindset of there is another beautiful way to express this. Example, when I teach English, I also have to open a gap for the cultural matters. I say, okay, you can translate into Spanish this part because it's something cultural. Is this, and this. Example, in Colombia, our main meal is lunch. In Canada, United States is dinner. In Europe is the same. And students say, what? I don't get it. Yes, it's something cultural. That's why you see Americans having a sandwich for lunch because it's
Mhm,
something quick. For
mhm,
us, lunch is essentially
mhm,
is
mhm.
the biggest one.
Yeah,
You
it's
see,
the same for us. Yes.
is the same. And on the other hand, the last year I say, okay, I need a new hobby. Sorry, and I was thinking, okay, I really like languages. You know what? I'm gonna start learning Chinese. I mean, I implemented myself my send recommendations, and it's an advice from my students to me, and I was like, oh my god, it's challenging. I mean, obviously we're having different structure, different patterns, but also through the language, you understand the culture, and that one is the
Yes.
most important.
This is a really big coincidence because I've also tried learning Chinese. I completed three levels of Chinese. I didn't continue because the school where I was learning didn't offer the next level. But for me, this has also been a very interesting language and the language that really taught me that you cannot disconnect the language from the culture.
Yeah, well, actually, I was learning for myself using an app, applying the same recommendation that I give
Mhm.
to my students. And I learn little by little, but I think the most important is interact with the native people. I did a
Yes.
very basic level
Yes.
being on, but I learned many things. And I was like, okay, example, in Chinese culture, it's very important that you ask the person that you like if the person already have eaten, right? Has eaten. It's like, have you had dinner? And was like, oh, interesting. In Latin America, we say, hello, how are you? Are you okay? I mean, we are very general, but they are concerned is with the food. Was like, interesting. Example, I also learned that if you want to say, how are you in Chinese, is shilama. And shilama is, have you eaten? It was like, what? It's something cultural, but as I mentioned before,
Mhm.
through the language, you learn the culture.
Yeah, exactly. And again, going back to the podcast, which brings us to this conversation, for institutions listening, what can they learn from your approach when designing global learning strategies?
Well, I have to say that they need to trust. They need to trust in your students and focus on empathy. I mean, I know that we are education is always in constantly evolution. Sometimes we as educators think is for better, others for worse. But education is always moving. So I always say stop designing learning strategies for them without them. Include your students. In this case, well, speaks as you notice, it's let student. They do everything, obviously, with the coordination, the orientation, the support from the teachers. But they feel like that the ability to do things they consider are necessary. They feel that the program is theirs, right? And I think that one is the most important. Trust on your students, focus on empathy, right? and use the language for communication.
Mhm. Okay. And if someone listening today wants to improve their English, but also prepare for global opportunities, where do you think they should start, and how would you recommend they make tools like UAO Speaks English part of the routine?
Well, my recommendation is simple. It's start where your passion is. I mean, if you love food, listen to food episodes in English on the language that you want to learn. If you are worried about your pocket, listen to financial podcasts. And nowadays, I notice that we are talking about micro habits. I mean, that you try to focus to do something in 10, maximum 20 minutes, right? So you can start with WoW Speaks English. You go to YouTube, search WoW Play, and check the episode of WoW Speaks English. We're having different episodes, sustainability, financial matters. We're having many episodes. The most important is to start, but with something small. And little by little, those small things sum up and make something big. Why? Because we are trained. I have to say that we need to do something in 1 hour or 2 hours to be effective. Nowadays, we are not working on that. We are talking about micro habits. Even to go to work out, to prepare something, everything is about micro habits.
Okay, Brenda, thank you so much for being here and for sharing such an inspiring approach to learning languages. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks to you, Mate. Thank you to all the audience. If you want to know more about us, we are on YouTube. You can type Wow Speaks English. You can check our episodes. And we are in Cali, Colombia from Universidad Autónoma de Occidente. Thank you very much.
And if you, like Brenda, want to build your own path toward global opportunities and truly prepare for an international future, don't forget to follow me on social media, where I share strategies, scholarships, and tools to help you take your potential beyond borders. Thank you so much for listening, and see you on the next episode.